welcome to All Things STEM with Ashley. We are doing our Men in STEM series, and today I'm so excited to host our guest, Raymond Collins. Welcome, Raymond.
Glad to be here, Ashley.
Yes. So a little introduction about Raymond is, Raymond Collins is a 27-year-old software engineer in the defense industry. He has been in the contract defense industry for 4 years. He enjoys solving critical programming problems and applications development in software engineering. Raymond is from a small town in Louisiana called Donaldsonville. It is located along the Mississippi River between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. Raymond happened to discover software engineering and computer science through Googling professions that aligned with his personality and interests during high school. Raymond has a love for technology and computers, which is why he can spend a vast amount of time around various technology. That is what sparked his interest in software engineering in the field of STEM. So welcome, Raymond.
Glad to be here once again.
I'm excited to see you. So can you give us a little bit about yourself? I know I talked a little bit about it, but tell us about yourself and what sparked your interest in STEM, like a deeper version.
Okay, so a little bit about myself. I kind of grew up, I'm not an only child, but I kind of grew up like an only child since my siblings were like very older than me.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of time to spend by myself. And that just cultivated a lot of time for me to be around computers, play video games, and be on a cell phone like a lot of kids of this generation today.
Yeah.
So just growing up, I fell in love with technology. So I always knew I wanted to go into a field or profession that involved technology as well. And I remember in middle school, it was a career day, I believe. Someone told me that, hey man, you should consider going into the field of engineering. So I was like, computers and engineering.
Yeah.
I'm like, let me put those two words together, see what I could find on Google, come across computer engineering and, come across hardware and software sides of computer engineering.
Yeah.
And the software side is computer science. So
Yeah.
that cultivated that aligned with what I liked as a person, being around software, being around technology and things of that nature.
I love it. Thank you.
Welcome.
So, can you share if you had any role models or mentors that have influenced your STEM journey?
Okay, I would say actually any influence and role models, I would say are my two eldest sisters. They are not engineers, but they are both in the medical field.
Yeah.
And the way that influenced me is I have real life examples of someone who can go into a very difficult profession and be able to succeed and make it. So I was like, hey, I don't want to be a doctor. I do want to be a software engineer.
Right.
It may seem difficult to learn the necessary skills to be a software engineer, but hey, if my older siblings can learn what they need to learn to become doctors, I know I can learn what I need to learn to become a software engineer.
That's excellent. That drive, that determination.
Yeah.
That's excellent, Raymond. So, were there any challenges you faced growing up that made pursuing a STEM career difficult?
I would say things growing up that made pursuing a STEM engineering degree kind of difficult for me. I would say I felt like I kind of was behind when I went to college. I noticed some of my peers, they already knew programming languages.
Right.
I didn't. It was a new world for me.
Yeah.
When I went to college and I took my very first computer science class freshman year, I was like, what is this stuff?
Yeah.
And some of them was like, hey, you don't know what this is. They already took some computer science classes in high school, but I would say that would be a hiccup for me, and just the natural anxieties that you have with learning new things that are challenging, and just also college, like, hey, will I be able to even find a job once I graduate? And I graduated in 2020, so that's during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I will also say that is a challenge as well for me. Yeah. Trying to find a job and apply to jobs during the pandemic.
Yeah.
You have all these strict rules and regulations, can't conduct interviews. All interviews are virtual and things like that. So I would say, like, graduating and trying to find a job during the pandemic would have been one of the greatest difficulties in my career.
Yeah, that's really true. That's real.
Yeah.
That's real. No one knew what was going on at the time. No one knew what was next. And it's always nice having interviews in person. You get that personal touch. You get to feel people's, personality, energy.
Yeah.
It's so different than having that wall of the computer up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then layoffs are going on. So much was going on. It's like, what is job security?
Right.
What is really going to happen in the next 3 to 4 months, let alone a year.
Right.
So that's real.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
And I'm glad you made it.
Yeah.
I'm glad everything worked out. So for the people that don't know what computer science is, could you give us just a little overview of what computer science is, as you kind of spoke on? Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, sure, definitely. I would say computer science is a bunch of theories and mechanisms that involves a computer, involves applications like software. You have things like AI, data analytics. You have all these different applications that you can use and utilize in software engineering. You have machine learning and various things like that. So there's a bunch of different theories and ways that you could use a computer to improve society, to help out society, and just continuing to advance society overall. So yeah, it's a bunch of different mechanisms and different formulas, ways that you could do things, and concepts, I would say.
Thank you for that overview. That's really good. I really like having different guests to tell what it really is.
Yeah.
Because people hear it all day. We hear computer science all the time. It's like, but what is it?
Yeah.
For people to look deeper into it. So thank you.
No problem.
So I want to get onto your accomplishments in STEM. So what is one project or accomplishment you're particularly proud of during your STEM journey? Now this can be high school, college, career, whatever, your favorite accomplishment or project.
Okay. I would say my favorite accomplishment or project one assignment I had at my job, it involved creating a script for our team, for our pipeline, an automation system. It was a very challenging task. I was familiar with Python, which is the coding language that you would use to work with pipelines that you would use to create a script, and it was basically making a script for our database and things of that sort. So I would say that would be one of my greatest projects and achievements that I'm proud of, because it's something that touched our entire code base. So it wasn't something that was small or very petite that really didn't have too much impact. It's something that impacted our entire team. So that's something that I would say that I'm very proud of doing.
That's good. Thank you, Raymond. All right. So, Raymond.
Yes.
How does computer science interact with other disciplines such as aerospace engineering, mechanical engineering, or civil engineering?
Okay. I would say, computer science interacts with other STEM disciplines. Computer science interacts with life. It's very hard to walk outside and not see something that's derived from computer science, technology. Everything that's advancing is going towards tech. So for example, let's just take aviation and aeronautics. It's all kind of technology when you look in a cockpit of any type of plane. If you go on an American Airlines plane and you ask the pilot, hey, can I at least look in the cockpit? You're gonna see all kind of machinery, technology, and of course with the advancement of technology over time, it all has to do with computer science, with programming, with the software that's being used. Even when you go into the airport, everything is on the application, on the software application. You looking at the screens, hey, did my flight get delayed? Did my flight get canceled? You could even walk into McDonald's. You don't even have to talk to a person at the register. You could order your meal off of a screen. All of those things are due to computer science, through software and various applications and things like that. And just even entertainment. You could turn on TV. You don't even need cable.
You
could watch Hulu. You could watch YouTube, Netflix. If you go on Disney Plus, you could watch Hulu on Disney Plus, and that's various different applications that's just connecting with each other, and it's all very possible. Just through computer science and technology. Could be halfway across the world, FaceTiming someone, and things like that. So that's how computer science just interacts with the world, other STEM disciplines. You could have electrical engineering. I'm pretty sure there's environmental, civil engineering, and things like that. You could be looking at the landscape of a particular field, and you could use data analytics to let you know, hey, based on this data, will we be able to build this building in this specific area? You could come up with various different calculations, and you could try to predict certain things based off of data analytics, which is a discipline of computer science.
I love it.
Yeah, thanks.
You just gave every example. They work with everybody.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so cool how that topic is so versatile. Computer science works with everybody.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's everywhere you look.
Yeah.
So it's so many different ways you can use that if you got a degree in that.
Yep.
So, as we just spoke of, computer science is a broad field.
Yeah.
What are some different career paths within it that people may not be aware of? Now, I know you just listed a lot of things,
Yeah.
but are there any more you can add to that people may not be aware of how they can use computer science in a role?
I feel like a lot of people know this one, but I'm going to bring this one up. But security.
Yeah.
Cybersecurity and things like that. And, just... it's awesome to enjoy all of these great things that we have through software and, these different applications through technology, but we don't live in a perfect world. Of course, you have people with bad intentions. We all got banks, bank accounts, and you have people that would try to hack into a bank account, try to steal money and things like that. So I would just want to, put a big emphasis on cybersecurity and the importance of cybersecurity, making sure, our valuables stay safe. Is like when you look at a country, for example, a country has a military to protect that country. I view cybersecurity as the same thing. Cybersecurity, this precious and beautiful software that you have created, you need something to protect it. And I feel like cybersecurity is that discipline of computer science that protects that beautiful software that you made.
I love it. Raymond, I love it. Thank you for that explanation. That is super great because that is one of the up and coming fields. Yeah. You see AI and you see cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Everywhere nowadays.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, how do you see, we just spoke about what you could do in computer science.
Yeah.
How do you see the field of computer science and software engineering evolving over the next 5 to 10 years? We already see so much with AI model-based systems. Yeah. How do you think that can change over the next couple of years?
You want a good or bad answer?
It's your episode. You can get both if you want. It's whatever Raymond wants.
Man, I see technology advancing that's so beneficial for a lot of people. I mean, like, I have a big imagination. Yeah. I feel like that's good in the field of computer science, but I imagine, like, we could go to the doctor one day, and with one scan from a machine, they could tell us all these different diagnoses in our body and things like that. Yeah. I feel like you could take a fruit, a plant, and just run all kind of research with it, and just computer science is for everyone, and I just see it advancing so much. Yes. But with that being said, it's also a possibility that it could strip people of their jobs. So like earlier I was talking about McDonald's. I guess 20 years ago you were going to McDonald's, you're always interacting with a person. But nowadays you could go to McDonald's, not interact with not one person, and get whatever you need. So it is that thing to where, it could bring this possibility of less jobs. Right. Will things be more efficient? Yes. But everything has its pros and its cons, I feel like it will open society up to be more efficient, and be more consistent as well. Right. As humans, we tend to make errors compared to when things tend to be more automated. Right. It's less prone to make mistakes because it doesn't have that. It doesn't get tired. Right. It doesn't have human error. Right. And things like that. So.
Yeah, that's a great aspect on it. Yeah. The human error aspect. Now, like you said, I agree. It definitely will decrease jobs. Like you spoke about McDonald's. Do you think that while it decreases jobs, there will be some kind of human, like one human has to make sure all the robots are doing their job correctly?
Exactly. Yeah.
So while it might not take all the jobs, it will decrease them drastically, but we still need that one thing, like, okay, if it starts spilling French fry grease on the ground, you need that human override. So basically people will need to start learning how to utilize these robots or how to fix them in error, right? That could be some new possibilities.
Yeah. Also even possibly, I don't sound like, robot. People could possibly have robots in their house. You want to know what to do with it. If you got a robot in your house, you want to know what to do with it. Yeah. Now, I'm not no person that's like advocating for like robots and stuff like that being in the home, but I'm just thinking about like what we see on TV and what we see technology and computer science going. Yeah. So it's like, it's some things that some people might be like, whoa, I don't know about that yet. Yeah. And there's some things like, I like that aspect of going to Walmart, being able to buy all your groceries online. People like stuff like that, of course. Yeah. Who doesn't? But it's like, some as far as like robots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, self-driven cars. I don't know how people feel about that.
Yeah.
Like with Tesla and all that. So,
as long as it's not a flying car yet, I can't get with the Jetsons yet.
No,
okay,
nah.
we got to stay on the ground.
you got people that could barely drive. So imagine people flying and stuff like that. No.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for bringing in that. You know, your expertise on that, your insight. That was excellent. Raymond, thank you so much for talking about how everything could change over the next couple of years. Yeah. I want to get back on the advice track and things like that based off of your personal journey. Okay. So what advice would you give to young men that are considering a career in STEM but are unsure about balancing it with personal life or other interests?
Man, I would say the best, and I would go as far to say the number one advice I would give to anyone that's trying to pursue any type of discipline or area in the STEM field is make sure that you love it. Mm-hmm. Make sure that you're not trying to pursue it or do it for the wrong reasons, because a lot of these disciplines are very hard to learn. Mm-hmm. And it takes a lot of dedication to learn it. And you got to have that love, that passion for it. You could look at any aspect of any type of profession. You're going to go through hardship and trials and stuff, and that trying to learn what you need to learn. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, you know, sometimes when you're in college, and I'm not trying to say this in a bad way, this is just, you know, people and us learning in life, but you'll see a person that's in one major, and then they'll switch to another major. Yeah. And it's like, you know, you don't get, you know, attracted to like what you see on TV. Mm-hmm. Don't get attracted to salaries. Mm-hmm. Be attracted to the actual skill sets and things that you need. Mm-hmm. Make sure like you're passionate about those things. Yeah. Make sure you would want to sit in front of a computer all day, 4 to 5 days a week. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, so just make sure you have a passion for it. Just make sure you have an interest for it. And the best way to find out if you have that passion or interest for something is until the hard times come in pursuing it. So the moment, you know, you're learning a program language like C++, which is an object-oriented language, and you're trying to figure out how functions speak to each other, how to create a class. You're in these different classes trying to learn about all these different these programming languages like Java, C++, Python, SQL, and stuff like that. Yeah. And you're getting frustrated, but something inside of you is like, even though I'm getting frustrated, I still like it. Yeah. You know, it's almost like when you watch an athlete work out and stuff. Working out isn't easy. It doesn't feel good. It's painful, but for some reason you build an endurance to it. Yeah. So it's almost like you're going to build an endurance to that profession, to that major. You know, in this field of STEM, whether it's like mechanical engineering, computer science, electrical engineering, you know, you're going to build this type of tolerance for it where like you love it, even though some things will aggravate you or frustrate you. It's something that wakes you up every day and it motivates you to do it. You know, I get motivated. I like what I do. I love what I do. When I wake up in the morning, it's not like, oh man, I got to go to work again. It's like, hey man, it feels like a privilege. Yeah. I can't wait to go to work. I can't wait to problem solve. Yeah. You know, hey, we're working on this piece of software. Hey, we're working on this update. I'm dealing with the crash. I'm dealing with the bug. This widget, this web page isn't acting the way I want it to act. Yeah. And rather than like, you know what, forget it. I hate this. I'm not gonna deal with it. It's like, even though it's giving me trouble, I love what I do and I like this, and I'm gonna keep working through it. And eventually, I'm gonna get to the point where I want to get to. And so that's the advice I would give. Just make sure, like, you know, when you get into it, you know, especially if you don't know anything about computer science or software engineering or anything like that, just whenever you get into it and the first time you come across that first stumbling block, just pay attention to yourself. Yeah. Even though it's something that's irritating you, do you see yourself running back to it, you know? Yeah, that's excellent, Raymond. And that's so true. Because we're in our careers 30, 40 years. Yeah, right. You gotta enjoy it. You don't want to be miserable. Because it's also an investment as well. You went to college for this. Yeah. So it's like, I feel like it's better to go to college and be like, oh man, I don't like this, and switch a major, rather than graduate in this major, get in this career, and it's like, I don't like this. And it's like, yo, you just invested finances and time into this major just to find out that you don't like it.
Yes, student loans ain't no joke.
Sad me.
Yeah. So yes, those were excellent tips. Thank you for sharing that, Raymond. Next, I want to ask, what you just gave a lot of great advice in general.
Okay.
What's the best piece of career advice you've received so far, and how has it shaped your path? And this could be any part of your STEM journey, or it could be more than one if you want. So this is your answer.
I guess the advice that I just gave would be my best advice, I would say, but also it's just how I was raised as well. I would just, I guess, speak about, my mom and like my parents, and like they never tried to dictate what I became. They always told me, hey, be what you want to be. That my parents, they will always be proud of me, and just like both, I was saying earlier, both of my sisters are in the medical field. I chose to go in a completely different opposite path. Growing up, people would be like, hey, are you going to be a doctor like your sisters? And I'm like, I do not want to be anything like my sisters. They inspire me, they motivate me, but it's like I don't want to follow after that path. So it's like, I would say like the best advice I got, or like the best guidance I got, was like, hey, be what you want to be and do things that pique your interest. You have some people who like art a lot, but they want to be involved in technology. You have different art designs. You have graphic designs. You could get into more front end software compared to back end software. Kind of getting kind of technical here, but like
I love it.
When you think about what back end software is, it's the things that you can't see. And front end is the things that you can see. So whenever you look at a computer, whenever you're looking at the screen, watching me and Ashley conversate with you, that's the front end. That's the UI, the UX, the user interface. And back end code is like all the things going on behind the scene. It's like whenever you see a car, you see the body and the paint of the car, you see the wheels, but you have an engine and transmission, things that you cannot see, that's doing a lot of work. And that's what the back end code is as well.
I love it.
Yeah.
You just explained it so good.
It's like your brain. Like all kind of things are going on in your brain. You got all kind of thought synthesis that's being formulated as you talk and have a conversation with a person. But it's like you could see a person's lip moving, you could see a person's eyes, a facial expression. That would be the front end. The back end would be like your brain, your inner thoughts, your emotions, and things like that. So.
Ooh, we did a whole Raymond series, honey. Oh my goodness, this is awesome, Raymond. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem. But yeah, trust, my bad.
Yeah, go ahead. No.
But yeah, just make sure, just best advice I got was, do what you love, do what you're passionate about, and just don't feel pressured to do something that you don't want to do.
I love it. Thank you. Raymond, we're going to get back on your journey a little bit.
Okay.
You've shared some great advice, given us some great insight on computer science. I want to ask, looking back, is there anything you would have done differently in your STEM journey?
No, I wouldn't say I have any regrets. The way my cards has been dealt in life, I'm happy they were laid out that way. And I mean, even though there's no regrets, I kind of do wish, and I think I might have said this earlier, I kind of do wish I would have found out about computer science a little bit earlier and maybe try to learn some of those programming languages earlier. But it's not like me learning programming languages for the very first time in college set me back or anything like that. So like it's no regrets.
That's great. I love that. So now we're going to get into how we help the next generation of STEM leaders. Have you ever been involved in any initiatives or programs that encourage young men or underrepresented groups to pursue STEM fields?
Yeah, I would say I have. I would say being a part of NSBE, National Society of Black Engineers, it allows for a great opportunity and chances to speak to underrepresented kids who could be in a position of where they could be thinking about potentially being an engineer. They might have heard this word engineering, don't really know what it is. I even think about kids that could be in a position that I was in high school, where it's like they know they want to be in the engineering or STEM field. They don't know what direction to go in that STEM field. So just interacting with those kids and just speaking to them, picking their brains, picking their minds, and just being I guess like a physical representation of, hey, I see someone that looks like me, that's underrepresented in a particular field. This person looks like me, and they are what I'm striving to be. So
Mm-hmm.
I know that I can be that. You
Yeah.
know, so I would say like, yeah, being a part of the National Society of Black Engineers, you know, it allows me to encourage, you know,
Yeah.
young men and an underrepresented group, you know,
Yeah.
just by interacting with them and just, you know.
That's excellent. That's how I got introduced in STEM, from Georgia Tech SWE, Society of Women Engineers.
Oh, for real?
I was in 6th grade. Yeah, and
Oh.
it's just like you see somebody that looks like you and like they're doing it. Like,
Right.
that's super cool. Let me look more into it to see if I can do it too.
Right, exactly.
So it's so impactful.
Yeah.
And I'm glad. I'm glad we get to make a difference and give back the way people poured into us.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you for sharing, and thank you for what you do to impact others. So now I wanted to ask again on the advice, what advice, and you kind of spoke on advice already, so if you don't have a different answer, it's okay. What advice would you give young engineers or students who are interested in pursuing a career in software engineering or computer science specifically? We talked about earlier about STEM fields in general, and like you said, you need to make sure you love it.
Right.
Have to understand you have to do this forever. Now, I know you mentioned you wish maybe, you don't even wish, but it would have been cool to know some of the coding languages before. So what are some advice you would give to young engineers that want to pursue computer science specifically?
Gotcha. I could go a little bit more in depth.
Okay.
It's just ask yourself like, what do you like? You know,
Yeah.
like do you like finances? You could try to work for a JP Morgan, you know, like Chase Bank, you know, Citibank or something like that.
Yeah.
Do you like video games? You could work for EA Sports. Like, what do you like?
Yeah.
Computer science interacts with everything. You know, you could be a software engineer for Walmart.
Yeah.
You could work for McDonald's. You could be a software engineer for AutoZone if you like cars.
Yeah.
And things like that. So even, you know, strive, dig deeper, be detailed in what you want. You know, don't try to go on this broad path and be like, hey, I want to be a software engineer, but for anybody, you know.
Right.
So you might work for this particular company,
Yeah.
and you be like, man, I don't think I like software engineering. But then you work for another company, and it's like, I really like this, you know.
Yeah.
It's all about what and who you're building software for, and you know what kind of software you're building for them. So it's not only is it just like, you know, making sure you like computer science. It's like, what are aspects of yourself that you like? So that's a furthermore some more advice that I would give is like, hey, what type of things that you are interested in computer science, and what do you have interest of doing in computer science? You might not like C++ or Java. That does not mean you need to stray away from computer science. You know, you could do things that's more scripting with Python. You could do things that's more front end like HTML, HTML, CSS, and things like that that deals with front end software. Whereas it would be more colorful. It's like, hey, let me make this tab on his web page, blue and things like that. And you want to get your artistic gene activated in computer science. So it's all about, you know, the type of things that you like. Just discover yourself more, and you'll discover like, hey, is this really for me? Hey, I know I like computer science at this point. What do I want to do, and who do I have aspirations on working for? Don't cut yourself short. If you want to work for Apple, you know, put yourself in position and do things to try to work for Apple. If you want to work for Amazon, Facebook, you know, if you want to build a startup company, you have this fantastic idea that was given to you or, you know, planted in your mind, and there's no company that's doing this idea, you know, you can be the change to your generation, to the next generation. And you see it all the time with these great companies, you know, like, you know, so yeah, you might have an idea, and there's no company that's working on this idea. You know, you might have the very ambitious idea or plan scheme of making your own startup company to create that idea and bring that idea into to existence, you know, so.
Excellent. Thank you.
Well,
So now we're going to ask for your 3 overall tips for success in the STEM industry. What are your 3 tips for people that want to have success in the STEM industry?
I would say my 3 tips is humility.
Yes.
You're going to have a lot of time to learn, and the things that, there's going to be a lot of things you don't know. Oftentimes you're going to feel unintelligent at times. Even though you are a very intelligent being, you're going to be like, man, I just can't figure this out. You will literally be staring at one line of code for like 5 hours. And then like, you will ask for help. And they'll be like, oh man, you just got to add a semicolon in this place. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's like something so simple and so easy. And it's like, you didn't want to ask for help, but it's like, yo, go ask for help, you know? So it takes a lot of humility. Nothing is wrong with asking questions, whether you're asking it to a coworker, whether you're asking it to a professor, or even if you're asking it to a peer.
Yeah.
You know, I know for me when I was in college, peer connection, like when we was having like study meetings and study halls with each other in the auditorium, just the students in the program, like in the computer science program,
Right.
that's the time we learned the most, because it might be one thing that I understand better than everyone else, and there might be another aspect that another person understands better than everyone else. And it's like, you know, just being humble to ask questions no matter who they are. You might be a senior and this person might be a freshman, you know, still ask them. They might have more knowledge in a particular area than you, because computer science is a very broad field.
Right.
So one tip I would say is always remain humble. And with that humility, as I was just saying, you know, be open to networking with people. I know for me personally, I tend to be more introverted, more to myself, more quiet, but that's the thing about college. College helped me get out of that shell of always just like being, I don't want to say being laid back, but just always being quiet, not asking for help, and just being to myself all the time. Is like, hey, step out of your comfort zone. You know, try to network and connect with this person. So always be open to connecting with people. So I would say humility, connecting with others, and the last advice I would give is dedication. You know, nothing is easy in life. You're always gonna have to strive and push hard. So it's gonna take time where it's like you might be up to 2 o'clock in the morning trying to finish up some homework, trying to, you know, fix compile errors in your program and stuff like that, and you looking on Stack Overflow. You might not know what that is, but everybody who's in software engineering knows what Stack Overflow is, and we love Stack Overflow. So let's just say it's an issue that I'm having a hard time trying to figure out at work or with my code. And I'm like, why do I keep getting this compile error whenever I build my code? And so the compile error would say, it would give you this phrase, and it's like, I don't know what this is telling me. You will go on Google, Stack Overflow is the first website that come up, and 80% of the time someone gives like a correct answer that resolves the issue and stuff like that. So, it's a lot of hard work, a lot of studying, you know, a lot of dedication as well. Even being out of school, in my current profession, we still have to look up things, Google things, you know. There's going to be things that you run into that you're not familiar with, because even when you go to school, they're not going to be able to teach you every single thing about computer science. And, you know, with the way that society is advancing today, there's going to be things you need to learn. And so that habit that you picked up in college, you know, or along your journey, and being dedicated and always, you know, staying up 3 o'clock in the morning, you know, making sure things are getting done right, is going to carry over into your career, into your profession, where when you go to work and you need to learn something new or adjust and stuff like that, it won't be hard for you to adjust to anything like that. So to go over those 3 tips: be humble, network, and be dedicated.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing those tips. Now, my last question before we give you the floor. What's next for you in your career, and what do you hope to achieve in the future?
I would say what's next for me in my career and what I hope to achieve is something I've been thinking, I've been praying about a lot, is, you know, go and get my master's. You know, of course, you know, always advancing yourself in knowledge and gaining more knowledge. It would never hurt. You know, a master's isn't always needed. It really isn't needed in computer science, but it does not hurt. You know, it's very beneficial, and it can help spring you further and make you get to certain points in your career quicker than it would be than not go get your master's. So that's something that I've been thinking about, and what I want to get my master's in as well. So, you know, then if I get the train rolling with getting a master's, never know, I might try to go get that doctoral degree. I don't know. That's a big. That's a big.
That's
I don't
a big
know.
step.
Yeah, that's a big. I don't know.
That's okay, but you're thinking about it.
Right.
You're weighing your options.
Yes.
You're bettering and enriching yourself.
Right.
That's good, right?
Yeah, and I know it takes a lot of the last tip that I gave, a lot of dedication. So it's nothing that's. It's not people. You know, you could be like, hey, I'm gonna get my master's. It's not like it's gonna be a walk in the park.
Right.
It's gonna take some time, some years, and some dedication.
Oh yes. I was doing it while working full time, so I know.
Oh, so you know you got the first-hand experience.
I don't have to give an episode on that one. how to navigate getting a master's while working full time and managing life. So
yeah, you definitely. I'll be the first one looking at it.
Thank you. So before we close out today, I want just to open the floor for anything you wanted to say, anything you wanted to add before we close out. It's been such a pleasure having you here today. So is there anything else you want to
I would say something that I would say that I could add is,
Yeah.
and maybe I might have said this already, but just, I think I did, just continue to discover who you are and what you like. Don't do things just because it looks one way.
Yeah.
The grass is not always green on the other side.
Right.
So make sure whatever you choose to do, make sure you're passionate about it. Make sure you're passionate about STEM and that you love STEM. STEM is a great field. It's a great field to network with people in. It's a great field to continuously learn in. I feel like you could go on to get 5 doctoral degrees. You're never going to stop learning in the field of STEM. So just be ready to learn. Be ready to come into situations, whether it's meetings or whatever it is, with an open mind, being ready to adjust to different things and just, being on a swivel. So that I guess that's a little extra I would add.
That's good. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that,
No
and
problem.
thank you for all your expertise, your personal experiences, just sharing these tips for success that people have to learn by trial and error unless they have guidance.
Right, exactly.
So it's so wonderful having you here today.
No
I
problem.
appreciate your time.
Glad being here.
Thank you for being a guest, and I'm just so excited about this series. So everyone, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching All Things STEM with Ashley, our Men in STEM series, and thank you again, Raymond. We'll see you guys.
See you guys.
Bye.